Lost too soon. Daniel Moore was one of 18 Canadians who lost their lives in the Ethiopian Airlines plane crash on Sunday. In about an hour, family and friends will gather here at the Inukshuk Park on Lakeshore to remember Moore. Similar events will be happening across Canada and, in fact, around the world. We'll bring you to the tribute here in our city and hear from those who knew her a little later in the show. First, though, we head to Addis Ababa, where cries of sorrow and despair filled the air around the crash site. Many of the victims' family members fell to the ground in grief, and it will be a long time before any of them can bury the remains of their loved ones. Susan Ormiston begins our coverage tonight.
I think that today we spent the day in a hotel near the airport in Addis Ababa, where the families who have come here to Ethiopia are all gathered. They're staying there courtesy of Ethiopian Airlines. And today they were called into a meeting this morning, hoping that they would get concrete information about what happens next, how the identification process is proceeding, what they need to do, and most importantly, when they might be able to return home with some of their loved ones' remains. And they were disappointed. It seems that the airline wasn't able to give them a timeline at all. The airline, from what we heard from some of the families, said that they were the airline, that this was a government investigation on an identification, that the DNA would be starting tomorrow. And they just felt frustrated because many of them are here without any idea of how long they'll be here nor what they'll come home with. And on top of that, many of them have been out to the site yesterday and today. They're tired, they're emotionally distraught. And remember, it was just Sunday when this plane went down, so these are early days. It's a very intense emotional experience there. They are trapped in grief, and they've got a duty to do here this afternoon. Some of them were called into a room to give swabs to provide DNA, which will then be compared to the DNA, the body remains that have been found by the site. And, you know, there's no other way of saying it, according to one of the officials who spoke to them this morning. There are thousands of pieces and body parts. It's extremely excruciating to hear, but that's what they're dealing with.
Was the CBC's Susan Ormiston reporting from Addis Ababa. The decision to ground Boeing 737 MAX planes in Canada in the wake of the crash is taking a toll on airlines and air travelers across the country. Taking them out of service means rebooking as many as 13,000 travelers on Canadian Airlines each day. Lorena Redekop has the details on how long that could take.
I'm just going to see what's available.
Travel agents say they've been overloaded this week. Here, the call volume has almost doubled. First, it was people wanting to know whether they were scheduled on a Boeing 737 MAX 8. Now it's rebooking.
It is March break. Usually it's quiet time for us because a lot of our travelers are already on vacation in destination. So this has definitely been a lot busier.
At the airport, it's mostly business as usual. But some people already on March break are trying to sort through cancellations and get back before school starts. Like this teacher in Florida told she could fly back Monday.
It's impossible because I have to be in class on Monday. And so the best they could do was to get us out of Orlando, which is a 2.5-hour drive from here. So that's what I have to do.
In a statement, WestJet says it's canceled 11 flights today, affecting 1,200 passengers. 75% of them will be rebooked on other flights today, the rest tomorrow, and a few on Saturday. The company says it's working to reconfigure its schedule, which should be done on Monday. Air Canada says it has up to 12,000 passengers a day directly affected, with a domino effect across the system. Earlier, getting through on the phone was almost impossible.
We sincerely apologize that due to unforeseen circumstances, our call volume has temporarily exceeded our capacity to answer or place your call on hold.
The company says it's now set up a dedicated line for people who had been scheduled on a MAX 8 or 9 over the next 72 hours.
I would suggest giving airlines a grace period until the end of Friday, that's end of tomorrow. And starting Saturday, if there is still chaos, then that certainly will be the airline's problem. From that point on, my position is that airlines should be paying passengers compensation for hotels, meals.
Meanwhile, the search for answers as to what caused the horrific crash is one step closer. The 2 flight data recorders arrived in France, but one of them is damaged, and investigators say it could take days or even weeks to retrieve information from it. Lorenda Reddekamp, CBC News, Toronto.
You are looking live at our skyline tonight. Clear skies out there right now, but we are tracking rainfall as it makes its way to the city.
Yeah, it won't be long.
Yeah, it was raining earlier. Is there more to come?
Definitely. In fact, what we saw earlier was just sort of the leading edge of this stuff. The heavier rainfall is still back down, actually in Michigan, and that's where the cold front is right now. We'll see another wave of some lighter rain showers moving through the GTA. In fact, we're already seeing it in the West End right now. That's going to push through the downtown core very shortly. However, the system is quite large, and the bulk of the rain, you notice some thunderstorms down in southwestern Ontario, and then further back through Michigan, there's another line of thunderstorms. That's actually the front that has yet to pass through. So a couple waves of rainfall expected through the next 6 hours or so. Environment Canada issuing a special weather statement here saying local thunderstorms, generally 10 millimeters of rain, but 15 to 25 millimeters if we see those local heavy downpours. And certainly there is a possibility of seeing that over the next 6 hours. We will see it, but whether you see it in your neighborhood will just depend on the location of these storms. Scattered showers will clear out through tonight, and then tomorrow temperatures falling. We've got a little bit of a cooler weekend in store, but in the long-range forecast, actually not looking too bad temperature-wise. It'll make my wife happy. That's a little bit of a tease for later on. We'll tell you about that coming up in just a bit.
All right. Thank you, Nick.
You bet.
The Ford government's plan to revamp the province's autism program has been met with plenty of opposition. Protests inside and outside at Queen's Park, heated debates, a question period. Well, today the Ontario Liberals weighed in and they brought along experts who doubt the province's plan will work. Adrian Chung has been looking into this today. He joins us live now. And Adrian, the Liberals are asking the province to pause this plan.
Well, they brought a panel today, and these experts are from different walks of life and professions. They're behavior analysts and professors and advocates, but they all have one thing in common. They all have children who live with autism. So for them, this is both a policy debate and also a deeply personal one. Now, the panel today at Queen's Park was led by former Ministry of Education Mitzi Hunter. They're calling on the province to rework many of the details of this plan, and their criticisms range from claims that this discriminates against girls with autism, along with warnings of some major cuts to some frontline workers. Have a listen to what they said.
Funding is based on the age a child is diagnosed. Because girls get diagnosed significantly later than boys, even when they have the same symptoms, girls will receive substantially less funding than boys, simply because they are girls.
These are the staff that are literally sitting across from a child with autism, teaching language, teaching safety skills, getting them ready for school. These are as frontline as you get.
All right, so Adrian, how did the province now react to even more criticism on this plan?
Well, we reached the Minister of Children and Social Services, Lisa McLeod. Her office sent us a statement saying our reforms to the Ontario Autism Program were developed with the belief that all families of children with autism deserve support from their Ontario government. We will follow through on that obligation by clearing the waiting list beginning on April 1st. So you saw there, the statement is succinct that despite the big protests from parents, despite the criticism obviously down at Queen's Park, they are moving ahead to put in a new plan for April 1st. Dwight?
All right, thank you for that, Adrian. And the changes could keep coming for all students and teachers. Tomorrow, Education Minister Lisa Thompson will give an update on a range of issues from class sizes to sex ed to teacher hiring. The ministry told school boards earlier this month to defer filling vacancies for retirements and other leaves until tomorrow's update. Teachers' unions say they haven't been given any details but expect to see cuts.
I'm Farah Morali in the Junction. Just how hard is it to find an affordable, decent place to rent in this city? Just ask the best tenant ever. We sit down with him coming up.
The city is beginning work on easing traffic in a constantly congested area. Yorkdale is in its first phase of a major makeover. Here's Lisa Shing with a look at the plans.
Yorkdale Mall is at the crossroads of the 401 and the Allen. Dufferin borders it on the west.
Traffic is pretty close to impossible.
Residents who have lived in the area for decades say it's already tough to get around.
No, the gridlock's here. You know, that's something we have to live with.
Over the next 20 years, a hotel, residential buildings, and offices are expected to go up where the parking lot is. Cars would park underground. So far, there are 3 options. One is heavier on residential uses. Another includes more office space. And a third would see an expanded shopping center. The city says all options will bring in 3,000 to 5,000 more residents. That's about 1,500 residential units, all of them rentals. Community groups are skeptical.
What is your biggest concern with a project like this going forward?
It's close to irrational, the number of units they want to put right beside where we live.
That's why the city is studying transit in the area and how it can improve infrastructure for drivers and ease congestion ahead of the construction.
So there may be improvements to the mall, from the mall to the 401, the on-ramps and off-ramps.
Well, by looking this far out into the future, what you're able to do is appropriately prepare for infrastructure and whatever civil services we would need in order to help this site function appropriately.
Patrick O'Neill believes the development is inevitable, so he at least wants a walkable community.
Cars don't work that well in this confined area.
The city agrees it's planning to put in parks and other public spaces to create more of a neighborhood. Lisa Sheng, CBC News, Toronto.
More affordable housing is coming to Etobicoke. Today, the federal government announced the construction of a 16-story building with more than 250 units.
Affordable rental housing is crucial in providing an entry point, an opportunity for more middle-class families of the future to thrive and succeed.
Funds for the One Warrender Avenue building near Eglinton and Kipling, about $89 million are coming through the government's national housing strategy. About 200 of the units will have rents at or below 30% of the median household income in the area. Construction on the building is already underway. 10% of the units will also be accessible. Now, the announcement comes at a time when the vacancy rates are at a historic low. Last year, Ontario's rate hit 1.8%. Toronto came in even lower at 1.1%. Now, the rental market is so competitive, it has some people taking unusual measures to find a place they can afford. Farah Morelli brings us the story of one man's campaign to get landlords to come to him by branding himself the best tenant ever.
Hi, my name's Ari Zilnik, and I'm the best tenant ever.
So you've actually taken this to the next level. You've got a website, you've got posters, you're calling yourself the best tenant ever. What made you want to do that?
So I was getting frustrated when I started my initial apartment search. I started about 3 weeks ago, and I was doing the normal, search Kijiji, search Craigslist, search some of the other classified ads, and starting to look for places. And I had this sort of big dream about what it was that I was looking for, and I just couldn't find anything available on the market.
So we're here in the Junction right now. This is one of the neighborhoods that you're looking to find a place.
Totally.
How has the search been so far looking in this neighborhood?
These days, unfortunately, it's kind of pick one. So you can either find your ideal neighborhood, but it's expensive and it's small, or you can find a huge place, but it's not where you want and it's still expensive, or you can find a place that's affordable, but it's in the middle of nowhere and still tiny, or maybe not ideal to what you want. So hopefully I kind of find that Goldilocks situation where it is the right price in the right place in the right size. So a couple of days ago, I actually added tracking to see how many people are actually coming on the site, and I've got a couple hundred hits now, which is great. And of those hits, I've received I'd say about close to 10 emails of people saying, hey, I have an apartment.
But no hits so far, no successes.
There are a couple of good prospects as a result of the website, but nothing signed quite yet. I design software, so I'm a user experience designer. I design apps. That's what I do on a day-to-day basis. And so moving back to Toronto about 3-4 months ago, I definitely didn't anticipate the sort of lack of stock, for lack of a better part, or sort of lack of inventory when it comes to units. In New York, it wasn't uncommon for me to start an apartment search, in 1 or 2 days and basically find a place, lock it down, and have the keys, within the week. Here, it's been a couple of weeks now, and I just haven't been able to find anything viable. So usually I post like right here.
So in case anyone's watching who might be looking for a tenant, give us your elevator pitch for why you are the best tenant ever.
I think I'm the best tenant ever because I have great credit, I have great references, I'm a good, decent guy, I'm pretty quiet, I have a steady job with a steady income, and I just think that I'm a nice person to be around. So hopefully all those things combined make me the best tenant ever, and hopefully you agree.
You forgot the beard.
And I have a great beard, in my opinion.
It's a memory, all right. One of the most popular musicals graced the stage in Toronto many years ago this week. We'll bring you some more historic moments in our Throwback Toronto segment coming up a little later in the show.
For Toronto's
Know your name, sir.
Shazam.
Wait, for real? Say, okay! Shazam?
That's a taste of the latest superhero film, Shazam, which was shot right here in Toronto. And the stars have returned for the red carpet event, which is happening right now. That's where we find our Deanna Sumanak-Johnson. Deanna, I loved this as a kid. I watched Shazam. I thought everybody forgot about this superhero. It's great that it's back in our town.
Yes, that's right. And I have to admit that I didn't know a lot about it, but it sounds like such a fun premise. I think for people who don't know a lot about it, people said it's like that movie Big with Tom Hanks, but with a superhero. Basically, it's about a lonely little kid who is in foster care who gets this special power. He just has to say the words Shazam, and he becomes a grown man, and not just any grown man, a man with great powers. The grown-up version of Shazam is played by Zachary Levi. And I think that what people are going to love about this movie, what really makes it quite different than some of the other superhero offerings right now at the box office, is that it doesn't take the superhero genre seriously. So it pokes fun of some of the tropes and stereotypes you see in those films. And we know that Zachary Levi's a great comedian, so it's really nice to see him turn a quick joke in this movie. And the other thing is, I mean, speaking of the built-in, so it's a little more of a family-friendly or family-accessible superhero film. The other thing, speaking of the built-in audience, is I'm assuming people from Toronto will be interested in going to see it, because in this movie, you really see some Toronto scenes undisguised. I mean, from people who are from here, you'll definitely be able to tell where they were filming. I got a chance to speak to Zachary Levi about shooting here. Here's what he had to say.
It was a fantastic experience shooting here, other than the fact that we were here in the middle, like not just the middle, like the entirety of winter, and the movie was like 75% exterior nights. So that didn't bode well for warmth necessarily. And the suit, as much as it might look like it might keep me warm, does not keep me warm. The whole thing was full of like those like hot pocket, like those hot pad things, which were kind of cozy, depending on where they put them. But no, so that was the only bummer. But the crews and the people here are fantastic, very warm and very talented, and yeah, I mean, obviously fantastic food, and the aquarium and all that jazz.
He really showed it. He really took advantage of being in this city. He named the aquarium and all the sports teams and sports venues, so he clearly enjoyed being here. But Dwight, it was so great to hear this from everyone involved in this film. The weather was cold, but our crews are so professional. They really know their stuff. And of course, the people are so warm. Actually, Mayor John Tory walked the red carpet as well. He too was a huge fan of Shazam when he was a kid.
Looking forward to this one, Deanna. Hopefully they'll bring back ISIS too. Love it. Thank you.
I'm sure they're listening. Thanks, Dwight.
Tonight, LeBron James will play his one and only game in Toronto this season. I'm Greg Ross, live at Scotiabank Arena, where many Raptor fans are getting set to see LeBron wearing a Lakers jersey for the first time live and in person. We'll have more on tonight's game and more on King James coming up.
The weather update is brought to you by Train Extreme Conditions Testing. It's hard to stop a train, really hard. Train, the most reliable heating and cooling brand.
We'll be back to LeBronto for the fourth quarter after this. 3 seconds to go. Throws up the floater. Good night, Cleveland. That is for you.
Why do we keep showing it over and over? Toronto Raptors fans, we love basketball, but there is no love lost for this guy, LeBron James. He has single-handedly ruined the last 3 seasons for our Raptors, breaking our hearts. Sweeping us out of the playoffs with his former team, the Cleveland Cavaliers, last year. But this year is different, we hope. The Raptors take on LeBron James and his new team, the Los Angeles Lakers, for the first and only time at home this year. This time around, King James isn't looking so royal. Greg Ross is at Scotiabank Arena ahead of tonight's Raptors game. And Greg, LeBron has owned our Raptors over the years. Does it end tonight?
He really has, Dwight, and people still want to come back time and time again to see him. In fact, I've heard that many people are paying hundreds and in some cases thousands of dollars to get tickets to be here to see this game. It's the only time that LeBron will play in Toronto this season, and it's the first time he comes here as a member of the Los Angeles Lakers. And I think, you played all those highlights. I think one of the big reasons that the Raptors had to make so many changes in this past offseason, bring in a guy like that one right there, Kawhi Leonard, is because of all of that heartbreak that LeBron James had a lot to do with. In the past 3 seasons, let's just put this into perspective. LeBron led the Cleveland Cavaliers to elimination series over the Raptors, including that dominant 4-game sweep that we were looking at some of the highlights of from last season in the first round of the playoffs. And let's keep going here. LeBron, 66 career games, including regular season and playoffs against the Raptors. And in that time, he has a 53-13 record against Toronto. So he really has been dominant, as you say. And I should point out that one of those losses came earlier this season when the Raptors were in Los Angeles to face the Lakers for the first time this season. But there is something about this city. There's something about Toronto that LeBron just seems to love. In fact, it's the nightlife here that he seems to like so much. He always enjoys going out here. In fact, he was captured out on the town again last night at a nightclub where fans had flocked to see him, many taking selfies and videos. He was captured in the DJ booth dancing, and this morning the Lakers actually canceled their morning shoot-around. I'm not sure if that has anything to do with the fact that LeBron had a late night last night, but how could you blame him? His team, the Lakers, right now 7 games out of a playoff spot in the Western Conference. It's not looking good. If they miss the playoffs this year, it'll be the first time, Dwight, since 2005 that LeBron has not been in the NBA playoffs. So that could be interesting. They're not mathematically out, but it's definitely not looking good for them, Dwight.
We'll be there and they won't, and we like that. Thank you, Greg. Last name Center, first name OVO Athletic. The Toronto Raptors have taken their partnership with Canadian rapper Drake to another level today. The team has renamed their practice facility after the Grammy Award winner's record label and brand, October's very own. The Raptors unveiled the new name this morning, announcing that the BioSteel Center will now be dubbed the OVO Athletic Center. Drake has served as a global ambassador for the Raptors since 2013 and has partnered with the club on jerseys, game nights, and building new basketball courts across the GTA.
Fish hooks discarded on the shoreline caused this puppy a lot of pain and its owners a lot of money.
We were quite scared. We've never been through anything like that before, and so she's our first baby pretty much, right? So we were really nervous.
I'm Ali Chiasso, and I'll have that story coming up.
A worldwide vigil is being held for Danielle Moore this evening. She's one of the 18 Canadians who lost their lives in Sunday's Ethiopian Airlines crash. She was from Toronto and lived in Winnipeg, but ceremonies across the globe will be held in her honor tonight. Our Natalie Nanowski is at Toronto's ceremony in Inukshuk Park. And Natalie, obviously her work impacted many, many people.
It really did, Dwight. The 24-year-old was a champion of social and environmental justice. I'm told by her friends that she really traveled all over the world, taking any opportunity she could to help others and help the environment. And that's exactly what she was doing on Sunday. She was flying to Nairobi for the UN Environmental Conference when, of course, the plane she was on crashed. Now, this vigil for her is going to start in about 30 minutes or so. Friends from all over the city are coming here to gather to remember her. I spoke to one of her friends. He went to university with her. He came here earlier to drop off some flowers, and he told me that he had seen on Facebook that she was going to this UN conference, but when he woke up on Sunday and learned the news about the crash, he didn't put two and two together right away.
When I heard about the accident, I said to my friend, I was like, well, they were probably going to the conference because I actually know somebody who's going, and not even having a second thought that she might be one of the people affected. So it was just absolutely shocking to hear about it later, and it just breaks my heart. She was just always an inspiration for me, and one of the reasons why I want to get more involved in my community and kind of take action.
So because she touched so many lives all over the world and she was such a globetrotter, Dwight, ceremonies are being held everywhere. They're being held in Vancouver, in Sydney, in Zambia. And here tonight, what they're going to do, and all over the world, is come here, stand in a circle, share memories of Danielle, and leave little mementos of the girl who really made it her life's work to go out and change the world. Dwight?
Yeah. And I think it looks like people are going to honor her by trying to continue that work. Thank you, Natalie. Nick, you said it was coming, you timed it out, and you were right, it's here.
Yeah, it is. We're seeing rainfall across the city right now, Dwight. We'll see another break and then on and off showers into the evening with some heavier downpours possible toward the later evening hours. There's a look at what we're seeing right now. This particular band of rain just passing through the city of Toronto at this point. You look at the broader picture, though, some thunderstorm activity down around the London area, and then further back down into Michigan, we're seeing what is actually the cold front that's going to move through, and that is where we're seeing even more in the way of thunderstorms. So this is where we sit right now. The front itself is here, back in Michigan. So what we're seeing is the leading stuff. So on and off showers through tonight. Round about 11 to 1 a.m. is when we're going to see the front move through. Again, showers, locally heavy downpours possible with this Environment Canada issuing that special weather statement. By tomorrow morning, generally just cloud cover, a few spotty showers to the north, but for the most part it should be dry for the morning. However, in the afternoon again, we're looking at scattered showers, especially sort of to the west end of the GTA, but even in the city of Toronto itself and eastward, we'll see some scattered showers on and off through tomorrow. Then as we move into Saturday, a few flurries through Friday night, and generally by Saturday afternoon, things clear out and we're back into the sunshine once again, albeit with some cooler temperatures. Broadly speaking, about 10 millimeters of rain across the region, but there are locally heavy downpours expected. So in those areas, as much as about 25 millimeters in the forecast. Winds are also going to be gusty out of the south tonight, and then as we move through tomorrow, about 30 to 50 kilometers out of the southwest, and it's going to stay that way all the way till about Saturday, and then slowly the winds begin to peter out by Saturday. Right now we're sitting at 7 degrees across the GTA. I expect that to go up to about 11 tonight before the temperatures drop. Overnight temperatures of 7 degrees, and then tomorrow morning we start the day at 7 degrees, but then the temperatures drop through the day. Windy conditions there. Saturday, 2 degrees, a pair of ones. Sunday and Monday and Tuesday, 3 degrees. Now, I mentioned off the top that my wife would be happy with the long-range forecast, and if she's happy, I'm sure you will be as well. Looking toward the end of the month, guys, I'm expecting to see temperatures above seasonal with temperatures around 5 to 10 degrees. So a little bit of good news in the forecast there for you, Dwight.
But on Saturday, are those snowflakes on Saturday?
It's flurries. Flurries, not snowflakes.
Okay.
Flurries.
Thank you, Nick.
There's a difference.
We'll see in a bit, buddy.
You bet.
Dog owners, keep an eye on where your furry friend is walking, especially near fishing spots along Lake Ontario. The warning comes after a dog gobbled up a fish hook last week. Her owners are now calling on those fishing along the shoreline to clean up after themselves before a dog gets seriously hurt. Alicia Son has more.
We go to the trail so often, so everyone who goes there runs into Hannah, and they all know who she is. And she just loves to play. She loves to give people kisses.
Last week's walk started like any other.
We parked the van. She was outside the vehicle with my husband. He had her on a leash. And I was trying to get my son's snowsuit on so we could go for a walk. And so we were out of the vehicle for maybe a couple of minutes. And he looked down and realized she had all this fishing wire hanging out of her mouth. We tried pulling it, but it was stuck. So we didn't know at that point that there was a hook at the end of it, but it was stuck, so we didn't want to do any damage. So we got her back in the vehicle. I held onto the end of it, and then we went straight to the animal hospital.
$3,500 later.
It's so tiny. That would be so hard to see.
And the wire itself can do damage if it gets wrapped around the intestines or anything else in the stomach.
So we came to the parking lot where it happened, and there's a fish line receptacle right here. And these things were installed because this had been happening too often.
And the sad thing is only very few people who are not good.
I imagine if it happens here, it's got to happen all over Ontario on the shorelines. Do you think more municipalities should include receptacles like these?
Oh, absolutely. And they're so simple.
Just PVC pipe and a zip tie flap. So far, you only find them in Clarington.
We got 6. And we got them all in very strategic places, you know, where the fishing areas are, where the fishermen are standing.
Leo's group of volunteers hopes they catch on and that anglers do the responsible thing and not litter so another critter doesn't get hurt. And so does Sabrina Burns.
And it has healed quite nicely. She's doing very, very well. Like I said, she had her appointment on Tuesday and a clean bill of health, so she's recovering quite nicely. I know there is very responsible people out there. It's just unfortunate that there are some who aren't, right? So my goal for this is just to create awareness so it doesn't happen again.
Alicia Son, CBC News, Clarington.
2 arrests in Montreal for the gangland execution of a Hells Angel member in Mississauga earlier this week, and a Canada-wide warrant is now out for a 3rd suspect wanted for first-degree murder.
The murder occurred in broad daylight outside a gym located on a busy strip mall at Dundas Street close to Cawthra Road, and is an example of the reckless disregard for public safety that criminals have.
32-year-old victim was gunned down in a boxing gym parking lot. Police say he was a well-known member of the Hells Angels Niagara chapter. This was a targeted hit, and investigators say all 3 suspects are believed to be associated with organized crime. The 3rd suspect is also from Quebec. A warrant is out for 38-year-old Joseph Pallotta, who police say is armed and dangerous. Toronto police are continuing their pedestrian safety blitz. Today's focus, school buses and how drivers can help keep the city's littlest pedestrians safe. Linda Ward speaks to a school bus driver about some of our dangerous behavior around those vehicles.
Okay, so you've got a stop sign, you've got flashing lights, even an arm that comes out in the front of the bus. Why is this such a problem? Why isn't this just a no-brainer at this point?
We write a couple hundred tickets a year because we have to be there to see it. So we know that the problem is a lot bigger. Motorists just not getting the message around school bus safety.
So what's the message for this campaign?
We know that there's literally tens of thousands of little pedestrians, our students, right, that use these buses and our roadways every single day, and we want to make sure we took the opportunity to communicate. That's part of the campaign, is creating conversations and talking about some of the challenges, and this is one of them.
Trying to focus on traffic, trying to focus on what everybody else is doing, remembering stops, remembering all the safety things that we need to remember. So yeah, there's a lot. Absolutely.
As a school bus driver, what are some of the worst driver behaviors that you've seen?
Oh, definitely running the stop line, the stop arm here. When that red stop sign goes out, when the outside flashes are on, that means the driver's supposed to stop. Often they do stop often, but what we see is creeping up, creeping, and not actually stopping.
If you could say something to those drivers that do that, what would it be?
Just slow down. We are not here to stop your day from happening. Usually it's less than 60 seconds. It's probably about 15 to 20 seconds that you're stopping. It's not the worst thing. It's not going to make you late. So just pay attention to what's going on around.
Okay, so Vicki Manning, you're in charge of safety for Switzer Carty, but your message today is for the students and how they kind of navigate around these school buses. So can you show us how to safely navigate around one of these?
Sure. Getting on and off the school bus is the kids' most dangerous part of their day, going to and from school. And one of the most important rules that we try and teach the kids is to keep their eye on the driver, especially if they have to cross the road. The hand up motion means that we know she's checking, she's giving us the thumbs up. Now she's telling us to move.
Well, we can cross now, it's safe.
So we can cross, maintaining approximately 10 feet in front of the school bus, because that would be the danger zone.
So what are you hoping comes out of this safety campaign?
We're really hoping that we educate everybody involved, including the kids, the motorists. We want everybody to be safe and be aware of what is going on when they see the big yellow buses out on the road. If there's lights flashing, stop arm out, crossing gate out, there's kids around this bus. So the motorists need to stop, make sure they see what's going on so everybody can be safe.
That was our Linda Ward reporting. Two women launched a $26 million lawsuit against the province this morning, claiming they suffered racism and discrimination while working for the Ontario Public Services.
The idea that I was in a space that did not belong to me, it did not belong to Black people, Black women, racialized employees.
The defendants' unlawful actions and wanton disregard for my dignity, my well-being, and my psychological health, and my safety in the workplace as a Black woman has caused me irreparable harm.
The women claim this treatment went on over several years and have documented numerous incidents. The lawsuit is specifically against the Attorney General's office and two public sector unions. One of the unions has provided CBC a statement saying it has long advocated for the Ontario Public Service employer to end systemic discrimination and promote equity in the workplace, adding it deals with individual situations through its dispute resolution process.
You made the choice to cut yourself off from the rest of us.
And you made the choice to take what Dad said as God and move on with yourself.
What?
An 18-year-old wrote, starred, and directed in a play, but her parents don't know anything about it. Coming up, we'll bring you the story of why Julie Fan keeps her passion a secret.
All the secrecy and the pressure and the trying to juggle and balance everything really does have a toll on my mind and how I feel.
This weather update is brought to you by Fairmont Le Chateau Frontenac, the best location for your next spring break getaway in Quebec City.
I'm just trying to reach out to you and be a good sister.
Since when do you care about family?
Since when did I stop?
Since you left us. You left me.
I had to do that for me, Audrey.
Of course, you just had to think about you.
Yeah, and if I could put up with it for any longer, maybe I would have.
That's a glimpse of Fine China. It is the first play by 18-year-old Julie Fan. It debuted at Fringe Festival last summer and was picked up for a second run in Toronto last month. But the story behind this play is just as dramatic as what you see on stage.
My name is Julie Fan. I am 18 years old, and I'm the creator of Fine China. It's about two sisters. They come together after the death of their father, and the older sister's Kim, she's the black sheep, who's been estranged for the last couple of years after a falling out with her dad.
You made the choice to cut yourself off from the rest of us.
And you made the choice to take what Dad said as God and move on with yourself.
What?
Fine China was inspired by my own relationship with my father and my own relationship to my sister. She and my dad, they were prone to fighting a lot, but there was this one or two fights that were especially bad that my dad told me not to talk to my sister. So I didn't speak to her for about a year, even though she sent me this Facebook message just telling me that she loved me. I felt really bad for not responding to her. And part of that guilt helped inspire Fine China. My parents don't know about this play, which is funny considering it's been the biggest project that I've been working on since I was 16, and I was lucky enough to get it picked up by the Fringe.
Why don't you do something with your life? Why don't you go to school? Why did you waste all your time on drawing?
Because I'm a good artist.
All you're good for now, a minimum wage menial job.
No, you're not going to guilt me into being a lawyer for you.
You don't listen, okay?
You don't know what you're talking about.
Part of the reason why it's still something that I need to keep hidden from my parents, hidden from my dad, is because I say a lot in this play, and I feel like I don't really say all that much when I'm home. I'm still working on forgiving, and even just, forgiving myself for when I feel like I don't live up to what it is that my parents want. I think the biggest fear that my dad has and any protective immigrant parent has is just the fear that your kids will have to endure the same kind of hardships that you've endured yourself.
After everything I've done for you, this is how you repay me. By being a liar, by being a failure.
What I really want before I tell my parents about what I'm doing is something to prove that it's not just a one-off thing, that I just got lucky, because I'm waiting for some relative success. Not that I'm not proud of what I've already done, it's just something so outside of what they want for me, it has to be more. All the secrecy and the pressure and the trying to juggle and balance everything really does have a toll on my mind and how I feel. My hope is that even though I'm kind of a little bit detached from my parents right now, some day there will be some way that I can share this with them and try to rebuild a little bit of what's lost before it's too late. I've probably really hurt my parents too, but I think at the root of all of it is that there's a lot of love, and from that love there is forgiveness. Even if we'll never really get to a place where everything is perfect, it doesn't really have to be.
The City of London, Ontario is gearing up for the Juno Awards. The first official events take place today, including the Juno Cup Jam hockey game. That's in advance of the annual Juno Cup Rock versus Jock matchup, which sees musicians take on NHL alumni in support of the Music Counts charity. The musicians have been practicing at the Western Fair Sports Center, and that's where we find our Tashana Reed ringside. So, Tashana, they're not asking you to lace up and jump on the ice to be part of the celebrity team here? What's happening?
You know, Dwight, I'm doing great from the sidelines. I'm going to stick over here and stay off the ice. To be honest, there's some big competition out there on the ice. We have some former and current NHL players. We have some members of the Toronto Furies on the ice. I'm seeing members of the Women's Canadian Hockey League as well as NHL. And we have, of course, our musicians. Canadian musicians come together for this annual face-off. And this is really for a good cause. It's a music education charity called Music Counts, and that is where all of these donations for tickets will go. And so it's an important cause. The Juno Cup was started by Jim Cuddy, of course, of Blue Rodeo 16 years ago. So this has been a time and time again trusted tradition for Juno weekend, and it really does kick off the weekend of events. So I had a chance to watch some of the practice. They're going pretty hard, and the big game is actually tomorrow. So that is when hockey fans here in London will be able to come into this rink and sit in the stands and cheer on their biggest fans. And you know, it's been great to catch up with some of the musicians here. I also had a chance to speak with some people that are new to the Junos this year and their first-time nominees, and that is the duo, the Reclaws. They're a country group. They're up for Best Country Album. They're siblings, actually. And we had a chance to talk with Jenna and Stuart, and here's what they had to say about being here this weekend. Take a listen.
I mean, this is crazy. This whole entire weekend is something we've been dreaming of our whole lives, so it's pretty awesome.
Stuart, how does it feel?
It's a very Canadian weekend for us. We get to play a show tomorrow night outside of Budweiser Gardens. We're nominated. We get to perform on the show, and we get to play a hockey game with some legends out here.
Yeah.
So
And you know, Dwight, I had a chance to speak with Jim Cuddy earlier, and he said it's some big competition, especially when you're on the ice with some true professionals. But what happens tonight is the table turns, and so the musicians actually have what's called the Juno Jam, and there will be collaborations with some of the players on stage at a special little concert that they host the night before the big game. So hopefully, you know, the partying doesn't go on too long because they all have to play here tomorrow for the big game, but it's all good fun, and everyone is just having a great time.
Well, we all know that jocks want to be rock stars and rock stars want to be jocks, so it's the perfect combination. Thank you, Tashana.
You're welcome.
And of course, you can watch the Juno Awards on CBC television this Sunday, March 17th. CBC will in fact have a full day of Juno programming. The awards show itself begins at 8 p.m. Eastern Time from London, Ontario. Now, to look at your skyline tonight, we've been throwing it back over the last month, looking at big events that happened in Toronto this week in history. We'll bring you those highlights right after this quick break. This week in Toronto history, the school that would become the University of Toronto was formed. King's College was officially chartered on March 15, 1827. It wouldn't be until 1850 the college became U of T. The first time a Toronto hockey team won the Stanley Cup was this week on March 11, 1914. The Toronto Blue Shirts beat the Montreal Canadiens at the Arena Gardens on Mutual Street before a crowd of more than 5,000. A big pounce forward in time to March 14th, 1985. That's when Cats, the musical, debuted in Toronto at the Elgin Theatre, and Cats is coming back. Mirvish is planning a new production at the Princess of Wales in November of this year. Didn't mind Cats, but I'm more of a Les Mis guy.
Are you? Yeah, I was just thinking, does it make you feel old that you look at that stuff and you're going like, that doesn't seem like it was that long ago?
Let's just get to the weather,
okay.
buddy.
Yeah, we'll get to the weather.
Because you were correct.
Yeah. Anyway, tonight, guys, if you're going out, a little bit of a dry patch right now over the city, but we're getting into some rainfall very soon again. Rain showers just over the Burlington area right now. This is one of a few to come tonight. Temperatures will go up to about 11 degrees this evening and then drop overnight tonight. A few scattered showers clearing 7 degrees. 5 by tomorrow afternoon. Some afternoon showers. Temperatures falling. As we move into Saturday, a few wet flurries for the morning. You're going to be sleeping off that partying with LeBron, I'm sure. But by the time you wake up, we're back into the sunshine on Saturday, so don't worry about it. Don't sweat it. And then we've got a pair of ones there heading into Sunday and Monday. But the good news is, in the long-range forecast, like I said, looking at the trends, about 5 to 10 degrees is sort of what we're looking at toward the end of the month, which is above seasonal.
And what we're loving is the sunshine we're expected.
I know, lots of sunshine in there.
Thank you, Nick.
You got it.
That is it for us tonight. Thank you for watching. Mike Wise has you covered on Late Night. Have a great evening, everybody, and stay dry out there.